out on UCF?
Yeah, real scary to look at a team that returns the veterans that they do coming off their NCAA tournament year last year. A lot of those kids came back for their COVID year. You can tell by how cohesive they are really early in the year. Anybody that's ever played against a team coached by Coach Abe knows that you're in for a defensive battle. It's what she has prided every team she's ever coached, no matter where she's been, on doing. It's every possession is crucial. We're used to playing 85 possessions. This is going to be more like a 65 possession game. So everything you do magnifies. So they've got my attention. They've got our team's attention. And we know I got to keep my mouth shut in these SEC meetings about who we're willing to play when it comes to these challenges. We played Baylor last year, and this is part of the SEC Big 12 challenge. When you don't play, this is our year to be out. So I said, well, we'll go to Central Florida. Yeah. So I've got to start having better judgment at those meetings when these topics come up. But it's a great game for us. It'll really test us. Hopefully our trip to UConn and our trip to Jonesboro will have us prepared for playing in a hostile environment. But this will be to date our toughest opponent that defensive minded preparation.
Scott, go ahead.
And Coach, with that being said, trying to mimic what UCF presents in practice with your ladies, what is the biggest obstacle there, you think?
Well, it's that they work on it every day, and we're going to ask our white squad to do it for 3 days. And it's not a 3-day put in thing. It is over a number of years. They're on strings with each other. You can tell they're communicating in a unique language in a unique way, the top and the bottom and the middle and the side. So we will not be able to simulate it to the degree that they're able to execute it. I will tell you this, we've got a really good group of white squad people, and they'll do as good a job as anybody could do, but it's impossible. So you try to just hit the highlights. These are the 3 or 4 things that you have to at least do this to function. If you can't do the A, B, C, and D, forget about E, F, and G. So I think we'll do really good on those first 3 things. But when it gets down into the next level of things, there's no chance to create that in a short period of time. I've tried to talk to coaches in their league, but they've obviously got some kind of pact about not talking about each other, because I can't get anything useful out of anybody.
Coach,
Kelly.
go ahead, Kelly. Well, no, I was just going to finish, Coach. You've got a body of work here through the first 7 games. What have you liked the most about your team thus far?
I think we're going to be hard to scout. I think we're not dependent upon one way or one person or 2 peoples or 2 ways. We've got a lot of variety. We've got some depth. We've been able to win a game, in a low scoring. We've been able to win one in the middle and one at the high. So I really like where our rotations are starting to settle in. We've kind of finally started settling into a little bit of a starting lineup that got us off to a really, really good start against a good Belmont team the other night. And then I think our rotations flowed from there. So I like where that's at. I think offensively, we're way ahead of where we normally are this time of the year, probably because Coach Todd's taken over that side a little bit of it. And he's been very, very good at what we've been putting in. But I do like where we're at offensively. We've got a lot to clean up defensively. But I like where we're at offensively. I like our depth. I like our variety, and that we've got really, really good balance, 1 through 8 or 9 there.
Kelly, go ahead.
Sure. Coach, it's a little bit of a homecoming of sorts for Samara, being from Fort Lauderdale, a couple hours away. Yeah. Why does she look so comfortable so quickly as a freshman? I mean, she's shooting lights out from 3.
Well, she played for Miguel and Obel and Paul and those guys in Miami, the Suns, and they prepare a kid to be freshman ready. They don't just prepare the kid on the court; they prepare him for the off the court stuff. And then if you've ever met her mama was a heck of a player at Alaska Anchorage. If you've ever met her mama, you knew from the day that we had that kid on campus and we met her, we were like, this kid's different. She's made different. She's been raised in an environment that allows her to be really freshman coachable. And that carries over. So it's been sustained now in some pretty tough matchups for her. She hasn't shown any signs, and I think the homecoming, for her, it'll be just like everything else. It'll be important, but I don't think it impacts her. We've tried to frustrate her, whatever word. We've tried to get her in situations where she's uncomfortable to see if she can grow, and she just keeps taking everything we throw at her and say, "Hey, bring it on! I'm ready for more." So, it's been a lot of fun because, around here, we've got a lot of local kids, so most people didn't know about her. So like everybody's like, "Man, what a surprise!" I'm like, "No, this is not a surprise. This is a kid who, if you saw on the summer circuit, and you saw with St. Thomas Aquinas, her high school, the job that they did with her, you knew she was SEC ready." And it's great that it's happened, and it's fun for our people around here to get to know a face that maybe they weren't expecting, but surprise is not a good word to use for it.
Yeah. And then, we saw glimpses of Jersey's game the other day against Belmont, the 3-point shooting, how she moves without the basketball. What element of her game that we haven't necessarily seen yet most excites you?
Well, I think she's going to become a defensive menace at times. She in practice will block shots. And, I joked earlier to our local group here, I had to call a goaltending in practice one day, which I didn't even know what the signal was for. So I think defensively, she's going to continue to grow there. Obviously, growing up, she was told, don't foul, because we need you in the game for 32 minutes in a high school game or 30, whatever, in a summer league game. So I think there's times when she's a little passive because she's been told her whole life not to foul. There's going to be some block shots that show up on her highlight reel in time because she's got great timing. And I think once she gets a few of those, you'll see them continue to grow. It's going to be, there's going to be flashes at times. And then there's going to be times when, she looks like that baby giraffe that she is. Her body her muscles and tendons are growing into her bones. So there will continue to be flashes, but you see what it can be, when it all comes together. And we're nowhere close. None of us on this call will get to see her at her highest potential without having to buy a ticket to do it. It'll be later on in life, but we'll have some fun along the way, but we're never going to see her at her highest potential. That'll be when she's 27 or 28.
Nice. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Paul, we'll go to you.
Coach, going back to this Central Florida team, a veteran team, obviously they want to play at a different pace. For your young team, how big of a challenge is that going and trying to play at your pace?
I think it's big. I know there'll be a sense of panic if they look up at the end of the first quarter and it's in single digits, because they'll think that we're going to be upset with that. So we're going to start today in practice. Every point we score today is only going to have half the value. So if we make it 2, it's going to be worth 1. If we make it 3, it's going to be worth 1.5, just to get used to seeing a number up there. Because the overall number is not very important. It's the margin. So, we're going to start talking about that today. And every drill we do, they're going to have to value the ball twice as much. If we have 10 turnovers against these guys, that's a problem. Whereas you turn it over 10 times at UConn and you're happy. So we've got to get some perspective set and understand that the shot clock is going to get to some places that, we haven't, and we'll have some schemes for that, but we'll start today. I'm glad we have a long time to prepare for them. This would have been a real problem if we'd played these guys back to back. It'd have been a big, huge problem. But we'll start today just understanding the value of every single possession. And it will be, I don't think you can speed them up, Paul. I think it's futile. I think it's a waste of time. I think we'd be, and we don't need to do that. We just need to take care of the possessions we have and, get around 1.5. If we can get to 1, 2 or 1.5 points per possession, and the final score is irrelevant. I like to have points, but it all comes down to how many per possession.
Yeah, the other thing I was going to ask is Jersey was SEC freshman of the week here. We've seen flashes, like you said, but putting two this weekend back to back, you feel like she's getting more comfortable.
Yeah. It all depends on how she feels. Yeah. Her body is still a work in progress, and some days it's 100%, and some days it's less than that. So I don't know. It literally is a day-to-day thing right now. So I anticipate my expectations are based on that number. When I walk by and she says 75, then I know what we got. If she says I'm 100, I think we're going to get what we got this weekend because she was close to it. So we just all got to be really patient with that. And I've got to be the most patient. I know everybody wants to see her go 3 out of 4 every night and do what she does, but there's going to be some nights that's just not what's best for her and for the team. So she is comfortable though. I'll tell you that. And she's getting more and more comfortable with everything. We've kind of tried to limit it a little bit. You know, we had her playing about 4 different positions just at first to see what she was going to be most comfortable doing. And now we're kind of taking that Bruce Lee method and we're starting to strip things away. And now we're focused to, hey, just be really good at this spot or be really good in this moment with this lineup. And I think that's helped her as well. Added reps in practice because she feels good. And then a narrowing of the focus during that time that she's getting the reps will be key. But it sure is a lot of fun to watch, you know, go from making a 3 to tipping one in on a stick back to bringing the ball up the court and initiating our offense. We're not used to seeing those types of things. So we're all going to be front row for a lot of those new first things for a while.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
Russell, we'll go to you.
Aaron Barnum, just how much more comfortable is she as, you know, a junior and been here several years now in her role and what she's asked to do?
She's pointing things out that are getting missed. You know, like I forgot to say something at the tail end of a play in a walkthrough the other day. She goes, "Hey, coach, what about that cross screen?" You know, like, was that Aaron? You know, whereas before you probably could have said, "Hey, Aaron," and she just looked at you. You know, she's really, really matured. And I think that it's come because she's played well. And when you play well, you build confidence. And when you have confidence, then you're willing to step out there a little bit more. But she's really accepted her role and blossomed in it. Very, very consistent. And, you know, we've got to continue to have it because we now have an inside threat. You know, there is a problem when you throw it in there to her because defenses have to collapse. She's hard to guard one-on-one. Almost impossible to keep her from getting a shot. You can affect the quality of the shot, but I don't think you can keep her from getting one. So we got to continue to keep her growing, but also understand that she's still, you know, really just 7 games into this new role. But boy, she's been pretty consistent and pretty steady for us. If you extrapolate her numbers out to per 40 minutes, man, those are big, big numbers. What she's been putting up in short periods of time.
Porter, we'll go to you.
Coach, how key is it with the team you have this year that you're able to have the height where the rebounding could be a big advantage, where you can limit their second chance points and you have the ability to increase your second chance points?
Well, you know, couple that with the 3-point line moving back. I thought rebounding was going to be even more important than ever. So the fact that we've got that length coming in at this time has helped us. It's the longest into any season that I've been a head coach that we've been on the positive side of the rebounding battle. You know, it's narrow. It's like +2, but we're usually -10 or -15 at this point in time. So the fact that we've closed that gap and still continue to not turn the ball over, we're getting great shots, and we're out shooting our opponents by 20 to 25 attempts per game. And that's what the number I really like to look at is. So the added length has helped us on defensive deflections, on closing down and affecting shots, and then finishing with a stop. And the more you can do that, the more we can run. And you know how we like to run, Porter. So those rebounds now turn into running opportunities and transition opportunities. So it's certainly a focus. I've got Coach Goldwire every game doing a very detailed video analysis and game analysis on, do you do your role on the glass? You don't have to get a rebound to get a plus part. You just have to do what you're supposed to do. And that number, giving that feedback to our kids, has been motivating for some of them because, and then she'll have a video clip correspond to it if they want to argue with her, which they've stopped arguing with her because they know she's got it clipped. She grades them pretty tough. I love it. But I think all of those things combined, an emphasis on it because of the rules changes and the new 3-point line and the added length. I think I don't know how to measure it yet, but I would tell you, it's been the difference in a couple of the margins of our games being a little bit more than they maybe would have been in the past.
That's what I was going to ask. My second question was how much it means to the team that some of these games that would normally be really close, you're able to pull away from these games and what that could lead on to in SEC play and later on down the season.
Well, it's allowed us to continue to try some combinations. Even the other night, none of us would have said, hey, before the Belmont game, I think we're going to get to experiment in the fourth quarter on them. This is a team picked to win the OVC. Already got a win at Ole Miss and played a lot of people tough. None of us thought that would be a 20-point win. So those are opportunities we missed last year, Porter, with missing those 4 games in the non-conference. Our freshmen didn't get to play in 4 games like that last year. So, I think it's helped Riley kind of collapse the time frames a little bit to where she's further along than she would have been had we not been able to play some of these lineups, Marquisha and Alana starting there. And then Emory Ellis, we don't talk enough. I don't. But boy, Emory Ellis's minutes have been really, really big, backing Aaron up. And, out of that position, those two together have kind of formed a pretty good 2-headed monster. But like you're saying, to your point, if these would all been a 1 or 2 possession game on in the fourth quarter, might not have had the game confidence to put those kids in those situations yet. But I think not only is it going to help us this year, but I really think it helps us when we make the turn next year and these kids become sophomores.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep.
All right. Is there anything else specifically related to UCF before we switch to Cal?
And if y'all are worried about time, I know very, very little about Cal, so I'm not going to have much for you on that. If you're worried about time, we can talk more about Central Florida. But I can talk a little bit about Cal. Cal it is. I know him just from, knowing Charmin and knowing the school and knowing her background and what they do. And then some of the players that they played, they're much improved over last year. COVID was a really hard thing for the Pac-12 and in particular people that were in the county that Berkeley is in. So I throw last year out. I go back to, we took our team out there a couple of years ago and they beat us 84-80 in a great game. But it's an extremely talented group. They've got now some depth of talent as well. They're always rugged defensively. And you don't get into Cal without being pretty smart. That was a place I would have got rejected from with my transcript. So, the kids are going to have, some they're going to be able to go really in depth on their scouting. They're going to retain it. They're going to execute it. And it'll be a good challenge for us to get that Pac-12 team back here in Fayetteville.
Randy, we'll start with you.
Mike, my question is about Sam Spencer.
Yep.
It seems like everything, when you look at the analysis, when she's on the floor, positive things are happening. She's in the starting lineup against Belmont. You got a +9 there. You went to another rotation. She had another +9 there. What has Sam Spencer meant to this team? Because obviously when she's in the lineup, it seems like positive things are happening.
Randy's going deep into those game notes, Mario. That's attaboy, Rand. Not that I suspected anything less, but it's funny because now that lineup efficiency shows up for everybody, that's something we've been tracking for about the last 10 years. And it's something I firmly believe in. I don't know how to explain it sometimes, Randy. Like Riley Langerman's a little bit of an anomaly. You look at Riley's stat line but if you look at it for the course of the year, but you asked me about Sam, so I'll tell you what Sam does. Sam amplifies everybody. So does Riley. I call those two kids amplifiers. They amplify Mac and Amber. They get Amber a little bit more open. Sam being 59% from the 3-point line, people are yelling shooter at her and hoping they pass it to Amber. That's a win for us. And Mac's in the gym daily. She's so mad at herself because if you would have said she would start the year out 4 for 26 or whatever she was, we'd have all lost the farm. She shot it great through the preseason. So, but it allows her to get off the ball. Mac a little bit off the ball sometimes. Sam's also very good, very quick defensively. So think about it in this term, Randy. If you don't put your fastest, if you're going to play man and you don't put your fastest one on Sam, she's going to shoot layups. Okay. So now you're up down to your second fastest perimeter player. And that person's got to guard Mac, who's pretty fast herself and is really experienced at getting to the rim and drawing fouls and getting into the paint. Okay. And then you've got Amber and Sasha. If you don't put your third fastest one on Sasha, you know what we're going to do. We're going to throw it to her at the elbow, and we're going to isolate everybody, and she's going to rip it by her and go. That's nobody needs to watch a film to know that. So guess who gets to guard Amber now? The other team's fourth best defender. Then we put her in ball screens, which we all see her being so good at. Now, that's not going to help us one bit against UCF because they're going to play zone 40 minutes, no matter what. But it helps us those other nights. And that's what Sam's done. She's amplified everybody's role. She gets the ball to Aaron in spots where Aaron can be successful. She's got more room to operate because you can't help off of Sam. We felt like when she stepped on campus, she was probably going to be a fifth starter. But she was a freshman. She hadn't played 1 second in a uniform. It wouldn't have been fair for me to name her that because she wasn't proven yet. She'd earned it in practice, but she hadn't proved it yet. So we gave every other person the opportunity, to say, hey, I'm that fifth starter. And Paul's with me on this because he heard me talking about it from day one. We were going to make sure that she was that fifth starter. And all she did was do exactly. I mean, she's shooting almost 60%. That's ridiculous for a guard. And when you look at the opponents she's played, it's ridiculous. Can she sustain it? No way. No way. I mean, it's just not mathematically possible. There's never been a guard at any level play the minutes that she has, shoot 69%. If she does, then that will be a surprise to anybody. So there's going to be a moment. I don't know when it will be. It won't be typical, but what she's done so far and the way that she's allowed us to develop now and get our rotation set, it's impactful, very impactful.
Well, speaking of minutes, you had 10 players play at least 13 minutes. You had 2 that played 16, and then you had 5, your starters played 20 plus. Is this the kind of balance that you're looking for in regards to the rotation?
No, it's going to shrink. When we get into starting this week, you'll see those 20s go to 22. 25s maybe go to 27 slowly. And then what happens is those 13 start to dwindle a little bit. So we'll see how those roles are accepted. They're identified now and they've been explained, but now becomes that ever difficult exception phase. Will those 13 minute a nights when they go to 9 or that night when it goes to 0? Because that happens because we're playing Mac 22 minutes a night right now because we can, but she can play 40 if she needs to. There's going to be a night she might have to. So the role acceptance phase is always the hardest of that little 3-step: identify it, communicate it, and then accept it. So we'll see. I don't know. I've never had a team this deep. Never, ever have we had a team this deep. And just about the time you get it figured out, we're going to hear later today whether Marion gets released. So if my hair looks a mess and my beard looks grayer and all that, then it's a great listen. It's a problem that every coach wishes they had, but it nonetheless, it's really, really hard to decipher between 14 minutes and 9 minutes. And that's a significant difference. But it ultimately is going to come down to the performance and the production. We take love out of the equation. That's why I use analytics to get all the information I can, to trust my eyes and my gut and my assistant coach's eyes and guts. Because we all know playing times and shots. For the rest of us, that's work, job responsibilities, and pay. So everybody that's sitting there in your job, you would never accept your job without knowing what your job responsibilities were going to be and how much you were going to get paid for it. So I've got to have a good answer for every one of those kids on how long you're going to play. And then within that minute, how many times you're going to get shoot. That's their 1-2. and some kids it's 0. Some kids don't care whether they shoot it. I can tell you right now, Riley Langerman could care less. Could care less whether she shoots it. But when she balls find her now, she's knocked a couple in, she'll start making more because she's knocked a few down. So I know I've got to have the answer for those kids. I've got to be there for them. I know it's hard. Today's society puts so much emphasis on how many did you score and how long did you play. That's the first two. Nobody ever asks them if they won or lost.
Mhm.
They don't ever ask them that. How many did you score? Oh, how long did you get to play a lot? That's the first thing they get asked by everybody. And it's unfortunately, it's where we're at. And as much as you talk about it, they still can't get away from that. As much as we try to prepare them for it and talk about it, it's out there and they're surrounded with it 24/7. So we'll do everything we can as a staff and as a team, but I don't want to look up at the end of the year and have 10 players with double-digit minutes. I just don't think that's sustainable. I think it's unrealistic to ask, and I think it's with all the media timeouts we get and all the timeouts we can call and being with quarters, the rest you get, if you're in that top half, those minutes will start going upwards to close to 30. We may not have a 30-minute a night kid, like we did a couple of years ago with 35 and 37. But, Mario wasn't here, but hey, there were times I completely ignored Malika Monk when she was dying to come out of a game. Coach, I'm like, what? So we didn't have an option. So it's new. It is part of our maturation process where we're at as a program. It's a good thing, but it doesn't make it very easy on coaches having to deal with those things that these kids have to deal with. Did that answer it? That was a really long answer. Sorry.
I liked it. It fills in a lot of the show. I don't have to talk that way.
Boom. That's a win.
Kudos to Randy for digging deep into the game book. We will go Scott, Paul, and Porter to finish it off.
Hey, Coach, back to your heavy use of analytics and efficiency numbers. Have you found that is making your ladies smarter basketball players? You talk about basketball IQ. Can that accelerate that development? Have you found that?
It can, but I really don't bog them down with it as much. I tell you what it does for me. I try to get it down to one number for them, and that is, what do you do when you're in the game? What is your impact? And I think we've got an impact number. I think we can get it to one number that says, this is how you're impacting our team. And I'll share it with them if they ask. And I do think it helps. I think it helps us get the best lineups on the floor for the most minutes and the combinations right. Man, there's a lot of times your 5 best players don't make up your best team. Man, that happens every year. So I think they believe in it. I think that builds trust in us as a staff, because we do take love out of the equation. I mean, I love them all the same, and I can treat them all the same this way. Now, I'm not telling you I'm not Moneyball, as much as I love the movie and as much as I think Brad Pitt should play me in a basketball version of it. I know none of that's ever going to happen, but I think it's missing information that for a number of years we all coached without. And I think I'd be doing our team and our program a disservice if I at least didn't know what they were. Now it's up to me how we use that information and how we put that into effect. But man, there's something to be said again for if you've played 10 games and this person over this replacement is, a major difference. Just because I can't explain why doesn't mean that it isn't the truth. So it's been good for us. I don't think it's for everybody. I understand that. And I'm not out, saying that every team should do it, but for the way that we build it, it's a really important tool.
Paul, go ahead.
You mentioned her name earlier, and I was gonna ask about Miriam. Where is she? You guys get a word on her and maybe her future this year?
Today.
Today. Okay. So where are we at?
Where she is right now is downstairs, and that's why I'm a little bit antsy right now. Like, is she? Is she going to be on the white squad today, or do we need to put her on a red team? We're getting that close. She's felt good. She's looked good. The doctors are taking a look at her today. Once we figure out what they say, we'll talk to her and her family and make sure we've got a good plan, because again, initially, she was thinking it was a red shirt year for her initially. So that's changed because of how she feels. So we'll take it, but we are waiting the word today, and we may get it as soon as we hang up.
Okay. Does that mean that you decide in the next few days, whether she's, or is that today?
I've already decided, I'm going to do what she and her family want done.
Okay.
If she and her family want to, start right now with 7 games already into the season, man, I'm all for that. There'll be a buildup. Don't get me wrong. She's not going to go from,
Right.
not playing to being in the starting lineup. That's just not fair to ask anybody. She hadn't been out there enough. But can we put together a plan that allows her to get back in to where she's able to have some impactful moments, or at least let her make that choice on that year of eligibility, because we're not in the COVID year anymore. This is not a free year.
Right.
That'd been an easy one had we had been, but I'm glad we're not. So it could be today. It could be today. And if we've been not putting her in the book. So if you see her name in the book down there at Central Florida, then you'll know the outcome of that.
Kelly, go ahead.
Coach, I was diving into Mario's notes, and he has this great section on all your off the court interests. I'm just curious how those off the court interests have rubbed off on your players.
I think a lot, in that, a number of our conversations revolve around those. They all want to, hey, Coach, you watching All-American? Where's that on your list? I am watching it because I know they watch it. And I knew they would ask me. So I wanted to be current. I wanted to be able to tell them what's going on with Vivian and everybody on All-American. I don't know. The reason I hope it rubs off is man, there's so much more to life than basketball. And you got to have other interests, man, to keep this thing fun. So I do think it rubs off on them to some degree. I think some of them laugh at me a little bit. They poke fun at me. That's okay too.
Yeah.
But then what I really want them to know is that when we rank things, the reason I rank is because I want to tell the truth in as many situations as I can. I don't want to be that guy at the party that says, oh, that's my favorite song. Oh, that's my favorite song. Oh, wait, no, that was my favorite song. I want to be able to say when, Sweet Child of Mine comes on, that's number 1. When You Shook Me All Night Long comes on, that's number 2. When Walking in Memphis comes on, that's 8.
Yeah.
I want kids to understand that I'm not just saying stuff. It's been thought through. It's got some criteria based to it. It's got some analytics applied to it. And if I'm going to analytic it into our, my top songs of all time, my top 50, I think we're up to almost 60,000. We're about to cross the 60,000 threshold. If I'm going to take the time to rank and order my 60,000 songs, you think I haven't put some analytics work into who we should be starting and who should be the first guard off the bench? And I don't know. I hope that's what that stuff is. It fills up Mario's notes, and just like this, we end up talking about that sometimes a lot more than we do basketball. And I love it. I know way more about movies and music and odd trivia than I do basketball anyway. So, I hope that's what people get out of that. People, I get called quirky or whatever all the time. I'm okay with that too. Odd's okay.
Just to follow up on that for a sec. I mean, so your top 10 songs, that's an awesome list. And obviously people on this call, we all know those groups and those bands well. But I mean, do your players, do they even know who half those people on the music list are? Do they know who Guns N' Roses and AC/DC? Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah. Well, for 2 reasons. One, we listen to music all the time.
Okay.
And if I walk in there and if I hear a word, if I understand a word that is not appropriate, then I go take the playlist over. And they know when it's my playlist, that's not going to be the ones they grew up listening to. But it's so funny. Like Amber Ramirez is a closet country music fan.
Oh.
Like people don't understand that about Amber. She knows her country music. So yeah, I'm not sure they know all of them, but I think they know most of them.
Cool.
And they know that I love Prince. So that's the one thing they do know, that I love Prince, and anytime a Prince song comes on, they know I'm going to go crazy.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Order the last question, man.
I'll keep it quick.
Right.
Looking at Cal's lone loss, I mean, it seemed like Ole Miss really gave them fits with their length. I mean, they held them to their lowest shooting percentage of the season. So how does that really give you an advantage knowing that they had 17 offensive rebounds and then on the defensive side held them to 23% shooting?
Well, we'll certainly draw from those exact numbers you just mentioned. We'll pull that out. We've obviously had some really close games with Ole Miss, and we're picked similarly in the polls. So we did it with Belmont. Like we did that when we were preparing for the Belmont game. So we'll draw back on this and say, well, hey, Ole Miss did this. Hey, Ole Miss did that. There's somebody that we respect and use as a barometer. It was obviously different circumstances, different situations, and you'll apply that. But it means something. It just doesn't mean everything, but it certainly does mean something. And we will use it as a threshold or a baseline for us to build off of for sure.
All right, we'll wrap it there. Local folks, we will have post game. Kelly, Scott, see y'all on Thursday.
All right. Thanks everybody.
Mike. Thanks, Mike.